Hello everybody, Average Gamer here. Welcome to a special little video. It's by request. Basically it's how engineers work and if they actually do or do not affect the hex, we'll say, the little spot there, for construction. So basically a lot of people are calling into question whether engineers truly do affect it. Now some people say only one stack affects a building. Some people say multiple stacks affect a building. Some people say, it's a law of diminishing returns. The more engineers you put in a position, the worse they are. I'm actually one of those people. What I actually would like to show everybody today is A, how they work, what they do technically while they're doing all this, and oh my gosh, people, stop. I don't need to hear all this stuff. I picked the 2020 Shattered World scenario. So what I'm going to be doing is something very simple. I picked an area of close to 50% supply. I'm going to be building something that takes a long time so we can actually see hard numbers. So percentages per day, tonnage, with 1 stack, 2 stacks, 3 stacks, 7 stacks. And then we'll remove them all just to show you just how it all kind of nails down. So what we're going to do, as I said, we're going to build one single nuclear reactor here in Ocala. And we're going to slowly go over these things and just show you guys how they affect it. Now, the way they affect it, I just want to mention, is a little different for everybody. What I mean by that is your country itself impacts this. So some of the researches you have, things will not be as efficient. For example, your supply. If you don't have good supply in a territory, supply won't get to those engineers to build it fast enough. So you won't get that percentage a day tick, for example, on your reactors, or your hydroelectric plants. If you have the industrial goods, that's another thing. You have to have the industrial goods to be able to use this, because what happens is when you use your engineers, you're actually using up more of the stuff. You basically, okay, let me rephrase this. You're going to be using up the full amount of stuff in a shorter amount of time, so you have to make sure you have it. So for example here, we're going to build a reactor. So this reactor is going to take us 129,863 industrial goods. Now, normally it would take 180 days, but we're going to do it a lot faster. We're not probably going to go through the full construction, just the showing of how the engineers affect it. But we have to make sure we have that 129,000 industrial goods, because we're going to be blowing through that. We also need to make sure that we have the $9.4 billion to pay for it. I cheated in the money, so I have the money to pay for this. Because one of the things that most people don't realize is when you use an engineer, you're taking off a percentage of the time. You're basically rushing the construction. Rushing the construction costs more. In the end, the game has it set up so it costs the same. It just rushes everything faster, so you just use up everything a lot quicker. So you have to make sure that you have everything short term instead of long term when you're normally building a property or a building. So once again, nuclear reactor normally takes 180 days, $9.4 billion to build, 129,000 or 130,000 tons of industrial goods. So we should be looking at roughly around 1% every 2 days or so. So we're going to unpause. We're actually going to be running at the fastest speed here. So obviously it starts off at 1%. So we're going to let it tick by a couple days so we can get a feel if it's doing a 1% or a 2% a day. So there we go. We ticked over the next day. Still at 1%. We're going to let it tick over to the next day. And there we go. So they're at 2%. So we're looking at 1% every 2 days. If that's the case, today at midnight, we shouldn't see any real impact. It should still stay at 2%. And there we go. So it's still at 2%. So we're looking at basically 1% every 2 days. So we're going to pause there for a second, and now we're going to look real quick. So right now it takes 742 tons of industrial goods per day to construct this. I made sure that that's actually the only thing we're building, just so that there's no misconstrued numbers. Number 2, we're now going to send in a full unit of 7. Let's just close it. Let's get rid of that. A full, well, let's call them a stack of 7 engineers. And we're going to look now. This should up the percentage by a little bit. Instead of 1 to 2%, we should be looking at a guaranteed 1% a day, if not 2% a day. Sometimes you'll see an actual immediate jump. So once again, we're at 2%, so we should see it jump either to 4 or 3. There we go, we get an immediate jump to 4% because the effects of the engineer are immediate of the day before it's midnight. There you go. So now we should either go to 5 or 6. Might likely go to 6. Oh, look at that, I went to 5. So with one stack, as you can see, we've guaranteed, because it should now go to 6, no problem, possibly 7. And there we go. So now we're guaranteed at least a 1% tick increase on the percentage a day, possibly a percentage of now a higher chance of going to 2. We should probably see it now go to 8%. No, there we go. So there we go, 9%. So now we're looking at a almost, I wouldn't say a guaranteed 2%. Oh my gosh, the world's going to war all around us. A guaranteed-ish 2% increase. Now remember, how much industrial goods we're using? Well, now we're using almost double the industrial goods because we're almost working at, twice the pace, right? So now we're doing 2% a day instead of 1% a day because we're working at twice the thing. Now, there is a law of diminishing returns with engineers. So what you will see is the percentage itself, So without engineers, you're looking at 1%, 2% a day. With your first stack of engineers, 2%, 3% a day. Well, actually, I usually say 1 to 2 still, but higher chance of 2. And we're going to bring up our second group now. Here is where the arguments are. So now what we should see before we even do it is a 3% jump immediately and then a constant 2%. So it should jump to 12 and then go 2% every day guaranteed. Now it might even go 2. That's no big deal. But I will show you how we can actually guarantee that we know what it's affecting. So we went to 11. No big deal. Now it can either go to 12 or 13 in the next one. There's a higher probability of 13, but it could still go to 12%. Well, went to 13. So now we're almost probably guaranteed a 2% to a 3% increase now. And the deployments now scatter. And you'll notice, once it ticks over, 2% increase. We'll give it a few more moments. $3 increase. Or sorry, that was, yeah, so, sorry, 2% increase. But we come into our military, or our industrial goods, and look at that. We've doubled what we had before. We've added another, 700 or something like that to the actual construction goods we were using. Because we're impacting that percentage of construction even faster now. So we may not see an exact percentage increase with the second stack, but once we add the second and third and everyone stops going to war around me, holy smokes. I'm just going to go back before we even do the next one. So we're at 21, so it should go to 23 or 24. 23, so we're now looking at a guaranteed 2% increase every single day. Now, we're going to highlight these 2 stacks here and tell them go to construction. And once again, remember, we're using up 2,400 construction ton or industrial tonnage for this construction. First off, you'll notice the tonnage at midnight should go up to what, 3,000 something ish. 3,383 tons. So now we have 3,383 tons per day going into this construction. And if we now come over to the building here in the property, that was a 3% increase immediately there. We'll give it a day or two though. Now we should get to around 31. There we go. So now with these next 2, as you can see here, we have a constant 3% increase. So still, not the biggest increase. It's not cost effective by any means, but this whole process, not cost effective. Like there, see, we only went up 2%. So even with your engineers, it's still not a guarantee, but they are there to make things a little bit more efficient and a little bit better. We'll probably go to 36 next. See, there you go. So now, with this, we're pretty much running a 3% increase with a small chance of still getting only a 2% increase. The reason for that? Supply and basically how much of the industrial goods we actually have. Those are still things that really, really affect your daily percentages as well. We'll go back and we'll wait one more tick here. So if we're going at a 3%, we should see what, 43, we should go to 43, went to 42. Oh yeah, 42 is 3%, sorry. 43 would have been 4%. So there you go. Apparently Belgium has fallen. So we're at 42%. Overall construction, we're working at around a 3% to 2% construction rate, which is still increased over. So once again, if there's no construction that there's just a building there for the reactor, 1% every 2 days. One stack, you're looking at 1% a day to possibly 2%, with a rarity of it going to 3. With another stack, you then bump that up to 2% with a possibility of 3, and then the next one obviously moves it to 3 with a possibility of 2, possibility of 4, and vice versa. Now, we're just going to jump right to these ones here. And once again, we're using 3,335 tonnage of construction goods. And once it ticks over to midnight, you're now seeing that we're now using an additional 4,000 or initial 1,000 tons of construction goods. Nope, we went for, and it should tick over. There we go. So this will also fluctuate just a little bit depending on supply, as I said. Plus this guy here I think has got to move. Plus our guys actually haven't completely deployed properly yet. Yeah, 4,400, there we go. So now they're kind of moving around properly. Click that spot. So we're at 52%, so we're probably, before I even pause, we're 52%. So right now we should be looking at a 3% increase, possibly a 4%. Now once again, these things do not guarantee an increase daily, but with the amount of construction goods that they add, there's a minimum guarantee. So like I said, we're going to guarantee probably at least a 3 to 2% increase, a 3%, now with a chance of 4. With a guarantee, 100% guarantee of 2. Nope. Yeah, 6. So we went up by 4. Went from 52 to 56. And we'll wait. I think I got my numbers wrong there. So there, see, it went up by 3%. So now we have a chance of 4 with a guarantee of 3. I know these are very weird percentages, but as you can see, it does increase over time. And we also have, well, there we go. Just went up another 4% right there, from 59 to 63. So now it'll either go to 66 or 67. We now have a higher, it's basically depending on the day as well. Because remember, 129,000, there we go, 67. So we're looking at pretty much 4% a day now, with a full, highlight the number, 44. So basically what's happening is that these guys are the main constructors, and these guys are all basically giving adjacency bonuses, I guess you could say. So they're not as efficient. So there's a reduction in efficiency as per these guys, but they are helping. And then we can also see when we go to our construction goods, just how much they're helping. 4,300 industrial goods. Now, if you want to make sure that and show that I'm actually not affecting these numbers whatsoever, watch this. So 44 units, all construction, 4,300 tons. Should go down to like what, 600? 740 right there. So basically what's happening is that they're getting an adjacency bonus. Now, these guys are not as efficient, right? So right now we're looking at, once again, a 1 to 2% increase per day, or a 1% increase every, let me rephrase that. A 1% increase every 2 days. Best way to look at it, I can't alt tab out, but if I'm not mistaken, you take 740, and I believe you divide it. Not guaranteed. By the 129 and 863. No, that's wrong, because that's the initial percentages. But yeah, so once again, we're looking at that was actually totally wrong. Me math, no good. Basically, yeah, so one, just by itself, once again, with the current numbers we have, which is roughly 50% supply, adequate, we'll say, industrial goods, 700 supply per day of tonnage. We're looking at a 1% increase every 2 days. Then we're looking at a 1 to 2% increase with one stack, and slow integration. Once you have 44, you're looking at guaranteed 4% a day. Is it efficient? No. Does it work? Yes. So there you go. That's exactly what engineers do. They make things better, just not as efficient. Money-wise, it's better to have 7 stacks doing 7 different buildings because it's just more efficient that way. But you can do this if you are just building one thing at a time, which some people do, like myself, because sometimes you just can't afford to build more than one thing at a time. But there you go. So it does affect it. Law of diminishing returns. Gotta love it. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.